How's it going today, guys? Welcome back to the channel. Hope you're having a great day so far. So what we're going to be talking about in this video are the best stocks out there for beginners who are looking to start investing in the stock market. Now, I just want to preface this before I get into my picks here as far as what my opinion is on some of the best stocks. I want to preface this by saying, what is the goal here as a beginner, looking to enter the stock market for the first time? Because a lot of people who want to start out with investing in the stock market will often be looking at companies that are going public. They'll be looking at, penny stocks, and they're looking to become a millionaire overnight by investing in the stock market. And I'm just going to be honest with you guys, that is not how it works for most people. I want you to have realistic expectations when you go into the stock market, and I have a lot of resources for beginners who are looking to invest. I have a 45-minute video on stock market for beginners I will link up to so you guys can check that out if you're looking for more information on investing in the stock market. But I just want you guys to have realistic expectations, and what you're looking for as a beginner is low risk exposure to the stock market, because the truth is, if you're a complete beginner, you have no idea what you're doing. And you're probably going to make mistakes because you're new at something that you've never done before. And so I would much rather see somebody getting low risk exposure in the stock market as opposed to investing in some kind of IPO or crazy tech growth stock or biotech stock. This is going to allow you to have a better chance of success here with the stock market and hopefully avoid a really bad experience and a learning lesson. So your goal when entering the stock market for the very first time as a beginner is not to become a millionaire. It's not to pick up the next big growth stock or the next crazy tech stock. It's to get low risk exposure, to get your feet wet with the market, and to basically understand what it's like to hold individual stocks. And I want to give you guys an example of where some beginners could have easily gotten burned really bad with the stock market, looking at a company that went public back in 2014 called GoPro. Now, back in 2014, this was one of the hottest IPOs, the action camera accessory company GoPro, and this stock had a run up to around $90 per share in 2014. So a stock market beginner could have saw that and said, okay, this company went public, the stock shot up like a rocket, I better buy some and get in on that hot tech stock. Well, guess what? Here we are 5 years later, and that stock is trading at $6 per share. So it went from $90 a share down to $6 per share. Imagine for a second if a beginner had bought that stock at $90 and in 5 years they saw their money go from $90 per share to $6 per share. Are they ever going to invest again? Probably not, because they had a terrible experience with the stock market, and that's not what I want to happen to you guys as a beginner looking to invest. Now compare that, on the other hand, to investing in Coca-Cola, which is the #1 stock here on my list in no particular order. Coca-Cola in 2014 traded for around $40 per share, and now here we are in 2019 and it trades for $45 per share. Did that person become rich investing in Coca-Cola? Absolutely not, but they did experience some growth there of that stock while earning that dividend in the process. So when you compare somebody who took the conservative approach, the low risk approach to entering the stock market, to somebody who went out there and bought into the latest and greatest IPO, I just want to encourage you guys not to take that gamble unless you are investing what you are willing to lose, because I don't want you to have a bad experience with the stock market that's going to turn you away from it forever. Now, that being said, before I get into the 5 picks for this video, if you are interested in picking up a completely free stock, Webull is running a promotion right now where if you open an account with them, you don't even have to fund it. They're going to give you a completely free stock in the process just for opening that account. It's based on a lottery system, so the value of that stock may change, but I've gotten comments from people who have gotten, Starbucks stock, for example, which is close to $70 per share right now. So there is a chance you'll get a larger stock. There's also a chance you'll get a smaller stock, but it is completely free, and that's the top link in the description below if you're interested. I am affiliated with Webull. You guys don't have to take me up on this offer if you don't want to, but if you do want to get that free stock, you do have to use my affiliate link or somebody else's to take advantage of that Webull promotion. And for those of you who are not familiar, Webull is a completely free trading platform. They have no minimum account balance, and they have an array of different research tools that are incredibly useful for somebody who is a research-oriented stock market investor, and particularly somebody who's going to be more actively trading than a long-term investor. So if you're interested, check out that platform, top link in the description, and grab a free stock if you want to take advantage of that offer. Okay, number one here on my list here is Coca-Cola, as we mentioned earlier in this video. And I just want to say this as well, guys. Obviously, don't just go out there and buy these 5 stocks after watching this video without doing any of your own research. I am not a financial advisor. I'm giving you my best assumptions here as far as, what my thoughts are on these stocks and what I would buy these stocks at myself. But ultimately, you're in control of your investments. You decide what you're going to do with your money. So don't be investing based on some random YouTube video that you see from me or anybody else. Always go ahead and do your own research before you invest in anything out there. But number one on my list here is Coca-Cola stock. It is one of the best stocks out there for beginners, in my opinion, just because it's such a safe and consistent investment. And this is a company that has a massive moat. And the moat is basically the barriers to entry for new competitors. So if you were to go out there and you were trying to make a new beverage company, competing with Coca-Cola would be such a difficult task because of the strength of that brand, their distribution channels, and how large this company is. Now, is there massive growth potential with Coca-Cola? Not really, but they are a very consistent and boring investment, and it's a great way for beginners to get low risk exposure to the stock market. And it's a company that's been around for over 100 years. So if you're a complete beginner, in my opinion, I would look to buy Coca-Cola at around $40 per share. It's a little bit higher than that right now, but it's also a dividend payer, meaning that you can be paid in 2 different ways here. Number one, if Coca-Cola stock goes to a higher price after you buy it, you can sell it for a capital gain. And number two, you're going to earn that quarterly dividend for the duration that you are a shareholder. And so I love stocks that have the potential there to pay you in 2 different ways. And a lot of the stocks here on this list are going to be, dividend paying stocks as well. Number 2 on the list here is a pick between 2 of my favorite stocks here, Facebook and Google. Now you might be saying to me right now, wait a second, technology stocks, isn't that high risk? But I think these 2 companies have become so dominant in their industries that they are no longer these high risk growth stocks, and they're more of a conservative investment that's not nearly as high risk as some of these other technology companies out there. And overall, I like the space here of digital advertising. It's a trend that I would like to be on. I own Facebook stock. I've owned Google in the past. I did very well with those shares, and I see a lot of potential for these companies to make more money as more and more advertisers shift towards the digital age and digital advertising. And not only that, these 2 companies have fantastic balance sheets, which means they have a lot of cash, a lot of assets, and they don't have a lot of debt. And that is something that is very attractive from a long-term investing perspective. Now, when we talk about the price of these stocks, Facebook shares are still at a bit of a discount compared to where they have been, and Google shares are up right now. But in my opinion, if I was looking to buy either of these 2 stocks, I would look to buy Google at around $1,100 per share or less. When I initially bought these shares, I bought them for around $950. Since then, I have sold them. And then Facebook, if you can get Facebook for around or under $150, in my opinion, that is an attractive price to pay for these stocks. So you might have to be patient with some of these and wait for that price to come up, and then you're going to spring and put some money into these stocks. In the long term, I believe you would do well with any of these companies, but I always look to buy stocks at a relatively attractive price, and I look to take advantage of sales in the market, and I don't ever like to buy stocks when they're at or nearing an all-time high. Number 3 on my list here is another stock that I own within my investment portfolio, and that is Apple. Apple is the largest publicly traded company for a reason. I've said this in other videos. There's a reason this is an Apple computer right here and not a HP or Toshiba. They have a massive loyal following for their brand. I'm a user of the Apple product. I love these products, and there are so many people that are incredibly loyal to this brand, and they're always buying the next latest and greatest Apple products. Now, right now, they're in a bit of a lull here. The latest and greatest iPhone wasn't necessarily a bestseller, and so the share price did come down for a period of time, but now, again, they're nearing $200 per share. So personally, I would look to buy Apple stock at around $175, which is the price I paid for this stock when I added it to my portfolio. But right now that stock is creeping up, and I would wait for there to be, a pullback before entering a position in Apple. Number 4 on my list here is a pick between two companies. It basically comes down to your beverage preference, and that is either Starbucks or Dunkin' brands. I like both of these investments because of how much people love both of these products. I'm very loyal to Dunkin' Donuts. I'll typically stop there, 3 or 4 times a week for a coffee or some kind of beverage. And as you know, millennials love their Starbucks. And so that makes these two very consistent investments. And they're also in the category of consumer staples, which is basically the everyday essentials, things that have become a part of our everyday routine. That's like food and beverage companies. So there's very consistent spending for both of these businesses. And the other thing I like about both of these stocks is that they are both dividend payers, meaning again, you have that potential there to be paid in 2 different ways. Now again, as much as I love both of these companies, the share prices are quite high right now compared to the past 5 years, and so I wouldn't necessarily dive headfirst into these companies right now. But if there was a pullback with Dunkin' Donuts, it's absolutely on my list here of stocks I would like to buy. Dunkin' brands, and personally, I prefer Dunkin' over Starbucks, so maybe I wouldn't buy that company. I just really love Dunkin' Donuts, Dunkin' brands. I think being in the Northeast, it's a little bit more popular here, but I just see this as a solid company that a lot of people are, pretty much addicted to their products and buying them every single day. So as far as prices go for Starbucks, I would look to buy that company at around $55 per share or less if I was interested in Starbucks. And Dunkin' Donuts stock, which is on my radar, anything under $60 per share, in my opinion, would be a fair price to pay for that stock. And then 5th and finally, I wanted to make sure I also included stocks on this list that were at a good valuation or a good price, in my opinion. And that is both Walgreens and CVS, another 2 companies that I think are solid picks for beginners. And these are, again, both dividend paying stocks. And the reason I like these stocks is because the healthcare industry overall is a very consistent and defensive industry. And what I mean by that is regardless of what the underlying economy is doing, whether or not people have a lot of extra spending money, or they're paycheck to paycheck, you're still going to buy your prescription drugs because a lot of us need these things to survive. And so because of that reason, they're a relatively defensive and boring investment, but the valuation and the share price of both of these companies is attractive at this point in time. And so that makes number 5 on my list here. Now, the one thing I will say, if you are buying a stock that is, at a 52-week low or a stock that is falling, you always want to consider that that stock could fall further in the short term. So you wouldn't buy a stock like Walgreens and CVS and expect it to go up like a rocket tomorrow. It may continue to fall because it's possible that that sector or industry is out of favor by the market right now. So you're going to want to be patient with any investment. And if you're not able to stomach, a 5, 10, 15, or even 20% drop in the short term, you may not want to be an individual stock investor. But ideally, by buying some stocks that are defensive, that have a well-established track record, you're going to avoid that exposure to a massive loss. And in the long term, I believe that these would be relatively safe investments for beginners, as long as you have the patience and the risk tolerance to be an individual stock investor. But anyways, guys, that's gonna wrap up this video. I hope you enjoyed it. Let me know in the comment section below, what are your favorite stocks for beginners? Do you own any of these companies? And also, if you did wanna grab that completely free stock courtesy of Webull, that is the top link in the description below. But thank you guys so much for watching this video. I hope you enjoyed it, and I will see you in the next one.